On one fine morning, a farmer has a look at his crop yield for this season's harvest. He realizes that the yield for this season is very low in comparison to all of the previous years. Now he is worried about this situation and thinks on what to do next. The farmer decides to meet the town's agriculture officer so that he can seek advice from him on how to produce high quality and high yield crops. Additionally, he also wanted to discuss about the latest profitable crop growing techniques that could be implemented.
Hello sir, thanks for accepting my request to visit my farmland. I wanted to seek solutions for some major bottlenecks that I had faced during this season's harvesting phase. My biggest concern is that this year's yield is very low in comparison to the total yield obtained in all of the previous years.
Many other farmers have also been complaining on the same. Research studies conducted by graduate students show that climate variability and soil salinity stress are some of the fundamental reasons for the low crop yield. Nevertheless, I have a recommendation to this problem. I believe genetic modification is the ideal solution to this problem. Genetic modification of plants involves adding a specific stretch of DNA into the plant's genome, giving it new characteristics. To put it simply, you can change the plant's characteristics as you wish. Mr. Phillips, there are two ways of transferring the DNA fragment into the plant. Firstly, coat the surface of the metal particle with the relevant DNA fragment and then bombard these particles into the plant cells. The second technique utilizes bacteria or viruses to transfer the DNA fragment into the host cell. Once the plant cells have received the new DNA, they grow into the new desired plant. It is possible to produce plants that are resistant to particular diseases. In this way, lesser pesticides, bactericides, and fungicides are used. This results in low health risks. Furthermore, GM uses less labor, less irrigation, and fewer chemicals, and hence the production cost is low. Above all, genetically modified crops produce higher yields.
Thanks a lot, sir, for the insightful explanation. Now I feel very convinced to start implementing a genetic modification on the crops. However, before I do so, I have a few questions that I wanted to ask. Is this procedure expensive? May I know the risk associated with implementing this technique?
Well, Mr. Phillips, answering your questions, yes, it is slightly expensive to implement genetic modification on the crops. However, in the longer run, it is one of the cheapest methods since the production cost will be very low in comparison to conventional farming techniques. In addition to it, there are some negative aspects associated with this technique as well. Through this technique, it is possible that crops can produce allergic reactions if the correct fragment of DNA is not transferred, and the crops produced may have low nutritional value. Mr. Phillips, keep in mind that any specific phenomena comes with its risks. Hence, before you start implementing this technique on your crops, make sure that you consider all hazards associated with it and take precautionary steps to reduce them as much as possible.
Once again, thank you for the advice, sir. After a deep thought, I have decided to utilize genetic modification for my next set of crops. Meanwhile, I would ensure that the practice is carried out safely so that the products produced as a result of the procedure would not cause any harm.
Every technology comes with its own pros and cons. Likewise, genetic modification of crops also has its own advantages and disadvantages. Hence, it is necessary to ensure that we strike a balance between the two before implementing the technology in the field of agriculture. That is the moral of the story.